Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I just woke up because this news dropped last night, and I didn't feel like making a video then, so I'm making a video now. Uh, you can see it on the screen right now. Ferguson and Pimblett and Rachmanov Thompson got officially announced, and I couldn't stop laughing, guys. I couldn't stop laughing. Ferguson, Pimblett. I mean, like, I can't believe this is real. You know, we were all talking about it for months and months. I remember, Ferguson's Pimblett's only way to like win a ranked fight, or Tony might actually have a chance against Paddy after we saw him fight Jared Gordon, yada yada. And yeah, I remember laughing at it all and kind of going along with it in good nature. I definitely never thought that was actually going to be what they make. And I just, I watched the freaking Dana White announcement video for it, and he goes on to explain Paddy's on a 6-fight win streak with like half of them by finish. Tony Ferguson's on a 6-fight losing streak, half of them by finish, guys. Like, I love Tony Ferguson, right? Let's not get this mistaken. Okay, I'm a huge Tony Ferguson fan, but at the end of the day, the man's not the same. And I'll sit here and say, like, yeah, sure, he has somewhat of a chance against Paddy, but I feel like the amount of chance he has against Paddy is about the same amount of chance that he had against, say, like, Bobby Green. Only because, like, he should have been able to kind of out-grapple Bobby Green, but he still put him to sleep. And now people are like, oh, he should be able to outstrike Paddy. I think he's going to be too old, dude. He doesn't have the speed. Even if he does have some heavy hands, Paddy's young. And if he's well hydrated, he'll be able to take the shots pretty well, especially from a slow, older Tony Ferguson, that the shots are probably going to be pretty easy to see. You know what I mean? I know this isn't what we want to hear, but this feels like it's just kind of like we're all kind of deluding ourselves a little bit, you know? Don't be surprised if closer to this fight week you start hearing me, actually backing Tony so that I could be somewhat excited for his fight. But at the end of the day, I don't know why this fight is happening. You know what I mean? Tony 100% I think should just be released. Even if he wins this fight, I'm still going to stand by that he should have just been released before this fight. Given some sort of like, here's, the show money for the rest of the fights on your contract and boom, or whatever. You know what I mean? Because it honestly feels so shameless the way they're setting this up to try and give Paddy a big name on his comeback. That's basically a guaranteed victory. I mean, don't get me wrong. These kinds of mismatches are what allow and give the opportunity for the massive, stunning upsets of Ferguson ankle picking Paddy and Immonaring rolling into a heel hook and Paddy taps out like immediately. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd be nutting in my chair if that happened. But it's just not going to happen. Tony is too old. He is too slow. He is not durable anymore the way he used to be. I mean, even if Tony hits harder than Paddy right now, it's going to look like Paddy hits harder because of the way Tony's going to be reacting to the shots. He's going to have the speed. He's probably going to have better cardio just because he's not as old, Not to say Tony's cardio is going to be bad, but it's not going to be the same. Reaction speed, scrambling ability. I mean, Paddy's not exactly super dangerous, but I can easily enough see this fight going to the ground. Paddy gets some sort of submission, choke, and boom. I mean, if Bobby Green can find it, Paddy will. That's not even like a question in my mind, really. I mean, to give Tony some chances, I mean, if he really does still have his power, I think he could definitely crack Paddy pretty hard. I mean, Paddy's striking obviously got exposed pretty badly by Jared Gordon in that fight, and I would argue that Tony probably still hits a little harder than Jared. Although I don't know if I want to say like his technique and his speed are even close right now, which arguably is why Jared was able to hit Paddy in the first place. So I don't know, guys. I don't like looking at this fight. I really don't. Like, I spent the whole night laughing, basically, at the idea of this fight being announced. But now that it's the next day and I'm woken up and everything, I'm just kind of like, why? You know, like I would have really rather just about anything else. You know, Pimblett versus Frivola would have been so much better. I'm sorry, it would have been so much better. Ferguson versus somebody who's actually like old like him, you know, like Jim Miller. I mean, I know we're kind of like icing Jim Miller until UFC 300, it seems like, which is fine by me. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying, like, why wouldn't we also ice Tony until UFC 300, maybe, you know? I know it looks like Felder's coming back to fight Jim Miller, so that's not really an opponent for him anymore, but, I mean, even if they made this fight on UFC 300, I could at least be like, okay, it's big enough. It's like a big fight for UFC 300. I get it. This is UFC 296, guys. Like, they don't need Ferguson getting choked out by Pimblett again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need that. But whatever. I just needed to get that off my chest and kind of be like, what the fuck, you guys? You know, what the fuck? Like, this is ridiculous. But anyways, moving on to the fight that is actually a fight. Shavkat Rakhmonov and Stephen Thompson. Yo, Wonderboy wants all the smoke. I cannot believe he took this fight. Like, I'm pretty surprised. I'm not going to say I can't believe it, but I am very surprised. It really was looking like Wonderboy was going to fight Usman, then get that a shot at number one, like, contender spot, and then if he won that, obviously he would just be number one contender. And then being number one contender, he could just challenge for the title. Or he could have like tried to fight somebody else lower in the rankings, and then after that fight's over, maybe the division's shaken around a little bit, and he could fight somebody a little bit easier towards the top, and then boom. But no, Wonderboy has taken maybe the hardest stylistic matchup for him, honestly. I'm trying to think. I don't want to say. Yeah, maybe. Possibly like Usman or Colby would be a harder stylistic matchup just because they're a little more wrestling heavy. But I think because of Shavkat's finishing ability, it makes him really dangerous. And that's like the biggest thing in this fight for me is that as much as I really like Wonderboy's striking, I do think Rakhmonov's ability to finish is very dangerous. And the fact that like he even finished Jeff Neal in that third round with a standing RNC like that was like out of nowhere, like holy shit, like what was that kind of moment? It was pretty impressive. Shavkat, 17-0, 100% finish rate. I don't know if we've ever seen that, especially not when he was able to continue it in the UFC like this. And I mean, he's got good takedowns. Like I said, stellar finishing ability. But he has that hole in his boxing that Jeff Neal showed off. I know Wonderboy's not exactly a boxer, but he's an incredibly good striker and is very good at capitalizing on mistakes and openings. And if Shavkat has any trouble getting this fight to the ground, like Wonderboy's able to stuff like 1 out of 2 takedowns attempts every round or something like that, and like the takedowns doesn't happen until like maybe the 3rd or 4th minute mark. Like, I really think Wonderboy can piece him up a lot worse than Jeff Neal did. Like, a lot worse. Not to point of finishing him, but it'll just be like, maybe not a lot worse. Sorry, that's the wrong way to say it. Like, he could theoretically piece him up a lot worse, but I do think he'll play it a bit safer than Neal because I think he'll be a little more scared of the takedown threat. But when it comes to like the purely what Wonderboy would be able to do to Shavkat, like, on the feet, I think he could absolutely maul him a lot worse than what Neal did to him. And we saw Neal, he really found that chin of him and really just kept bopping his face over and over and over again. And I feel like Wonderboy, if he works a good game with the kicks, being very careful not to leave himself too extended for Shavkat to possibly catch one and throw him to the ground, and just like kind of distract him with kicks and then go in with his punch blitzes that leave him a little less open for takedowns. And he could really start hurting Shavkat, especially with those punch blitz. I feel like that's his best weapon against Shavkat in the first place, outside of the kicks. But it's really hard. It is really hard to fully take Wonderboy in this, especially knowing Shavkat's grappling ability and the threat he produces in submission world. But I'm kind of 50-50 on this right now. I don't really want to confidently pick either guy right now because I want to go back and watch some tape on Shavkat's takedowns, his ability to do it, and how he goes for them. You know, what his favorite takedowns are and how he usually tries to get the entry on them and finish them. And I kind of want to compare that to takedowns Wonderboy's dealt with before in the past and see kind of what happens. My early thoughts are definitely like it's going to be Shavkat submission. That seems pretty obvious, especially since Wonderboy's so much older, you know. If Wonderboy was like 35 still, I might honestly take him. But just the fact that he's a little bit north of 40, I mean, he's a really good 40, don't get me wrong. But just the fact that he's a little bit north of 40 makes me worried that he's lost a little bit of that speed, a little bit of that explosiveness, you know, a little bit of that athleticism that might have been there at 35, you know. And even past, once you get past 40, that's kind of the age as I feel like an athlete or a fighter where like you're really susceptible to like any time, any fight, like your next fight, any of your next fights could be your last in terms of like you're just gonna hit a wall of your athleticism and your testosterone production and yada yada. You know what I mean? So early prediction is probably a Shavkat submission. You know, probably I want to go late second, early third, but I'm going to give this one some time to think because if Shavkat cannot get it to the ground, then Wonderboy wins this for sure. For sure. The Jeff Neal fight showed me that. So, a couple of fantastic fights. I mean, well, a fantastic fight and a couple big names added on to UFC 296. This card is already shaping up to be pretty dope. Like immediately, he just announced the main and co-main, and now we've already got what is presumably probably the featured fight, and then another main card fight. I can't wait to see how the rest of this card fills out. This one and UFC 295 are looking to be like the most stacked cards of the year. It seems like. Nothing new was announced for 295, but I just feel like going back and looking at it because I mean, ooh, that main event is nice. This is pretty nice too. And this is dope. This, I don't know if you got, oh, actually, since I'm here, I'm going to talk about it. I don't know if you guys saw, Delidze called out like Cannonier and Whitaker and a handful of people to be a short notice replacement on this card for him to replace Derek Brunson. And Jared Cannonier has accepted, but they won't be doing it at this card. I don't know. What was it? I believe it was December 2nd or something they said. I'm pretty sure it was December 2nd. As you can see, there's not like a spot for that right there. But I believe it's December 2nd. I could be wrong. Something like that, though. And they're not going to be the main event. And it's going to be a fight night. But if I recall correctly, announced for that same date was Rob Font and Davison Figueredo. Oh my god, I forgot that fight was announced, dude. Okay, Rob Font versus Davison Figueredo real quick. Hold on. So, finally Davison Figueredo's doing something, right? God, guys, all of these fight announcements lately, I just kept ruining the video idea that I was going to do. So, I don't know. I might have to just completely scrap it at this point. But guys, Davison Figueredo, we finally got word on him. He's moving up to the bantamweight division. He's going to take on Rob Font. And I got a feeling Rob Font's going to box the shit out of Davison Figueredo. I got a feeling he's going to give him that Adrian Yanez treatment. Like, honestly. They're both a little bit on the older side, you know. Font here is 36. I believe Figueredo is 35, I want to say. Yeah, he's 35. Which won't hurt him quite as much at bantamweight as it will at flyweight. Just because he doesn't have quite the same weight cut, but he's still on the older side, you know? And I get Font's a little bit older, like 1 year older than him, but I think Font's been able to maintain a lot more of his speed and kind of some of his power. But I think Font's been able to maintain a lot more of his speed and keep a very crisp technique, hands up all the time, you know what I mean? he absolutely put Yanez away. So we know he's still got the power. And he didn't show the best against Corey, but he definitely gave Corey some problems on the feet while they were standing, broken tricep or not. So I like a lot of what I've seen from Font. Figueredo, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know how he's going to be looking going up at bantamweight. I don't want to say he's just going to get knocked out because he will be more hydrated at bantamweight than he was at flyweight. I think he'll probably look a little sturdier, more filled out. I don't know if I don't think the power will transfer quite the same. I do think he'll be quite powerful still, but I don't think it's going to be the same like knockout or put him on their ass like immediately kind of power. But the biggest like part of this moment of this fight that stands out to me is Deiveson Figueiredo's grappling. We saw in his 4 fights with Brandon Moreno at least, but we also saw in fights like against Alejandro Pantoja, and I believe he fought Brandon Royval as well, that his grappling is amazing. You know, he's got really good grappling, really good scrambles, really good submission ability. And if he can use that against Rob Font, he's got a really good shot. You know what I mean? If his power transfers decently well to bantamweight and he has that speed somewhat still, then he has a really good shot of being able to hit him with a couple hard pot shots kind of out from the center, shoot in, get him to the ground, and then even if he doesn't submit him, I feel like Figueredo could have really good top control, obviously, with what we saw Sandhagen do to Font. I do think Font won't really be expecting it all that much. I think he'll train it a bit, obviously, because 1, it's MMA, and 2, Figueredo is known to be a little bit of a grappler, but at the end of the day, he's mostly known to be a power puncher. I think that's what Font's going to be preparing for. And I think if Figueredo makes his game plan around kind of getting him to the ground and integrating the grappling, getting into scrambles, getting some ground and pound off, I really think Deiveson can have a lot of success in that regard. I'm curious actually what the size difference is between the two of them. 68, 71 and a half. Figueredo is 65, 68. So they're both pretty close in size. And if Figueredo at bantamweight, he might even still be bigger than Rob Font, honestly. He might be bigger. I doubt it, but he might. This is a close fight off the top of my head. My early prediction is probably going to be Rob Font by... I want to go with a decision right now. I might change it to a TKO. I might change it to Figueredo by sub. I mean, I could almost see him getting a guillotine at some point, so I really would be curious to see that. But anyways, you guys, that was my video. That was kind of my thoughts on some of these new fights that have dropped. I mean, Dana's cooking right now, guys, and he's cooking with gas. And this is gas. This is gas. This is gas. I mean, what a time to be a UFC fan right now. Holy crap. What a time. All of these fight announcements. You got Fiziev Gamrot this weekend. Let me know in the comments who you guys think is going to win that. Let me know in the comments who you guys think is going to win all these matchups that have been announced. I'm over here just geeking about it. So, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. I'll have predictions. Fuck. I forgot to drop predictions. Holy shit. Alright, you know what? Let's just do predictions real quick right now, huh? I can't believe I totally forgot to make a predictions video for y'all. Sorry. Anyways. Fiziev, 3rd or 4th round TKO. Bryce Mitchell, go with a decision. Rodriguez, decision. Brian Battle, probably a decision. Jourdain, I'm going to take a decision as well. I would take like almost all of these guys by decision. Usman, I'm going to take him by 1st round knockout though. Mizuki, maybe a 1st round submission. Dan Arzueta, I'm going to take him by a decision as well. Fialho by a decision probably. I don't. It's off the cuff, so like I'm thinking a lot of them decision, but like most of these guys, honestly, like I don't know if I would be picking decision outside of that for most of them. So yeah. All right, that was a quick little predictions part for you guys because I totally forgot to do it on Friday, and the fights still haven't happened, so it's fair game to say it all. It's still a prediction. So there you go, guys. There's my reaction to a bunch of the fights that just got announced, and there was a quick little submission prediction summary for y'all. So thank you guys for watching, and stay violent.